we're going to go over the review sheet. So if there's any of them particular that you want to look at, we'll look at them. So first, ones 1 through 20, we're looking at factoring each expression. So are there any questions on factoring 1 or 2? Factoring, how to factor number 1 or number 2?
No. Not good. On the board.
Sure.
Maybe that's what you should do today, since it's review.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll figure this out. I will.
Here we go.
All right. Hard.
See how that works. Okay. So we're looking at question number 1 first. So there's not a greatest common factor, so we start off with our 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces. Our signs would be the same because the constant term or the third term is positive and the middle term is positive also. Our factors of x squared are x and x. There's only one set of factors for x squared. So we'll put x and x. Now the factors of 7 are 1 and 7. We can plug those in. And then we can check to make sure this is correct. X times 7 would be. And 1 times x would be plus x, 1x. And 7x plus 1x is. It would be 8x, which is what we wanted. So x plus 1 times x plus 7 is the factors for this here. That's all I have to do for this one here.
Want to do another one? Next one?
So any questions on number 1? Questions on number 2?
No. You gonna do that, Brandy? Second one?
So do we need to see 1 or 2 work? Number 1 or 2? Are we good with number 1 and 2? Okay. How about number 3 or number 4? Either one of those y'all want to see worked. Are we good with 3 and 4? Yes? How about 5 or 6? Number 6. Now, I will take greatest common factors if you take them out, or if you leave them in, I will take it also. Now, if we look at this here, across these 3 terms, there is a common factor of 2. 2 will go into 2, 2, and 4, yes? So we can factor it out, which would leave us with x squared plus x minus 2. We would divide it out of each of the terms. So we can divide it out of each of the terms, which would give us 2 times x squared plus x minus 2. Any questions on this so far? Now, since the third term in this is negative, our signs are going to be opposite. One's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Our factors for x squared, well, there's only one set, yes? x and x. Factors of 2 are 1 and which one would be positive and which one would be negative? Yes. So we're dealing with this one here because we pulled the 2 out. So we'd have positive 2 and negative 1. Now when we distribute, 2 times negative, or x times negative 1 would be negative x, and 2 times x would be plus 2x, which would give us a positive x. So we can say 2 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. And that'd be our answer. Now if we didn't want to factor that out, or we didn't factor it out, 3, since the 4 is negative, our signs are opposite. Now we'll still have x and x, but I'll need the 2 because 2, the factors of 2 are 2 and 1. Only got one set, so we'll throw them in. Now the factors of 4 are 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Which one do we want to try? 2 and 2. And we can check. 2x times negative 2 would be negative 4x. 2x times x is plus 2x, which would give us a negative 2x. Is that what we wanted? No, we wanted a positive 2x. We got the right number, but wrong sign. So we can flip the signs. Because now 2x times 2 would be negative 2 times would be minus 2x, which gives us. I'll take this one also. I'm not going to be too nitpicky on that. So if you do find the greatest common factor and factor it out, awesome. If you don't, go on and factor it. Yes, sir.
I got the same answer, but why? I didn't do like what you did before, like the steps before you did that. I didn't do that, but I got the same answer.
This or this?
Method that you did before that.
I mean, let me see. Yeah, that's the same thing. Any questions on this here? So we good with 5 and 6? Yes? We good, Cody? Questions on 7 or 8? Either one of those that y'all want to see how to work. We good with 7 and 8? Okay. Questions on 9 or 10? Questions on 9 or 10? We could feel good about question 9 and 10.
Maybe
11? Let's look at 11. 9x squared plus 66x plus 21. I'll solve it this way because there is a greatest common factor between all three terms. But if we look at this here, because 21 is positive, the signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term, which is going to be positive. Our factors of x squared are going to be x and x. Now the factors of 9 are 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. Which one do we want to try first? 1 and 9. 1 and 21 or 3 and 7.
Do the 1 first, so 9x.
Okay. Okay.
And then do this, split this up first. Sorry.
That's fine. And then we need to check it. X times 3 would be 9 times 7, which would give us 66x. And that's all we would need to do for this here. Questions on these? Does that kind of make sense how this works? Questions on 12? You feel comfortable with number 12? Okay. Questions on 13 or 14? Yes. Do you have any questions on number 13 or 14? 14. So when we look at this here, 16, our third term is positive. So the signs are the same and they match the sign of the middle term, which is negative. So they're both going to be negative. Now the factors of x squared are going to be x and x. Now we need to look at the factors of 25 and the factors of 16. Well, factors of 25 are 1 and 25 or 5 and 5. Factors of 16 are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, or 4 and 4. So what factors of 25 do we want to try first? 5 and 5. Okay, so we'll put 5 and 5 in. How about the factors of 16? 4 and 4. And now we need to check to make sure this works. So 5x times negative 4, 5 times negative 4 would be negative 20x. Negative 4 times 5x would be negative 20x. And negative 20x minus 20x is negative 40x. Is that what we wanted? So these here are our factors. Now we could have written it as 5x minus 4 squared. That also works because 5x, both sets of parentheses are the exact same. It's being multiplied by itself. So we can rewrite it as 5x minus 4 squared. It works. I'll take either answer. You don't have to write one way or the other. Any questions on this here? Are we good with these two here? 16. Now, since we have 2, and 144 and 169 are perfect squares, our signs are going to be opposite. Because this is one of our special factors. Well, the factors of x squared are x and. Now, 144 has subfactors. It goes all the way down to 12 and 12. Goes 2 and 72, 3 and 48. But the ones that we're mainly concerned with are 12 and 12. Because if it's a difference of perfect squares, the first two spots need to be the same and the last two spots need to be the same. 169 is 1 and 169. 3, 10, 16, nope, 3 does not go into it. 5, 4 doesn't, 5 doesn't, 6 doesn't. But 13 does. Now at this point here, we can check it to make sure that this does work. And if we check it, 12 times 13, 144, 1. Nope, it's going to be bigger than that. What is 12 times 13? (156x) negative 156x. 13 times 12 is going to be plus 156x, which gives us 0. Do we have a middle term? No. So we should expect this to be 0. Yep. 12x plus 13 times 12x minus 13. And it's really going along the fact that a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b times a plus b. A squared, b squared. That's 12x squared. 12 would be our a, 12x would be a, 13 would be b. Any other questions on number 16? Questions on 17 or 18? So again, just like the last one, we would have plus and minus. Now the factors of x squared are x and x. What are the factors of 1 going to be? 1 and 1. Those are the only factors of 1. Now we check it, x times 1 would be x. Negative 1 times x would be negative x. And x minus x is 0, just like we wanted. We didn't need a middle term. Or the middle term really was supposed to be 0. So that's it. Questions on any of this here? Are we ready for the next set? Are there questions on 19 or 20 before we move on to the next type? We good with 19 and 20? Okay, let's look at 21 through 30. Solve each equation. So are there any of these in particular that y'all want to look at before we go problem by problem? Okay, questions on 21 or 22, or either one of these that y'all want to see worked? No? Questions on 23 or 24? (25, 26, 27, or 28? Because y'all have them 4 on a page. 25. So in order to solve this, we really need to factor it. 2 sets of parentheses with 3 spaces is equal to 0. Because 56 is negative, it means our signs are opposite. One's going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Now the factors of x squared are going to be x and x. Now when you look at the factors, 56. 156, 2 and 28. 3 doesn't work. 4 and 14. 5 doesn't work. 6 doesn't work. But we have 7 and 8. What set of factors do we want to try first? Which one's positive? Which one's negative? Which one's positive? Which one's negative? Now off to the side we can check to see if this works. X times 8 is equal to Negative 1x. Is that what we wanted? Yep. So x plus 7 times x minus 8 are the factors for this here. And they're equal to 0. And while any two things multiply together to equal 0 means one of them must be, so either x plus 7 is equal to 0 or x minus 8 is equal to 0. So here we would subtract 7 from both sides and get that x is equal to negative 7. Here we would add 8 to both sides and get that x is equal to 8. And those would be our answers. Those would be our two answers for this year. Now, this here is just checking to make sure we factored it correctly. So this is kind of our check to make sure, did we get negative x as the middle term? We did. So those are the correct factors. So any other questions on 25 or 26? Questions on 27 or 28? Okay. If there's no questions on 27 or 28, questions on 29 or 30? Questions on 29 or 30? Looking at the last two. We can go there.
I mean, I hit the last one.
32. 625x squared minus 676 is equal to 0. Now, most likely we're assuming this is a difference of perfect squares because we don't have a middle term. Now in the calculator we can take the square root of 625 and I believe we should get 25 because 25 times 25 is 625. Now check and see, what is 26 times 26? Okay, so this really is confirming that this here is a difference of perfect squares because 26 times 26 gives us our 676. 25 times 25 gives us 625x squared. Now there's two ways we can go about it. One of them is we can factor it, two sets of parentheses with three spaces, factor it down, solve. But one of the nice things, and we did go over this, is that whenever I do have just the x squared in the constant term, x squared and then a term without a variable, we can move the term without the variable to the other side. So I can add 676 to both sides because these would cancel out, leaving me with 625 squared is equal to 676. Now tell me that x squared is equal to, so 676 divided by 625 is, I think the calculator is going to tell you that it's 676 divided by 625. Is that what you got, Brandy? Okay. And just gave it back. Yeah, because there's no common factors between 26 or 676 and 625. But we're not quite done yet. Because we're wanting to solve for the value of x, not the value of x squared. Yes? So what we'll need to do is square root both sides. Now, if we're plugging this into the calculator, we're going to take the square root of 676 over the square root of 625. As we already said, the square root of 676 is 26. The square root of 225, or 625 is 25. But again, whenever we do this, we do have to add the plus or minus. Because whenever we square root both sides, we have to add the plus or minus to one of the numbers. And that's it. That's actually all we'd have to do on the other one as well. On 31, we would do the exact same thing. Are there any questions on any other part of this here? No? Okay. Well, that is